Hello everybody and welcome back to the next part of our Assetto Corsa Competizione car selection guide on Traxion. In this video I'll be going through my recommended picks for each track alphabetically from Mount Panorama to Zolder. If you haven't already, I'd recommend going and checking out part 1, in which I discuss the basics as to how each car behaves and their strengths and weaknesses, as well as covering my picks from Barcelona to Monza. So without further ado, let's jump on a plane to Australia. Mount Panorama requires so many different aspects of the car to be working in harmony. You need good straight line performance in the first and last sector, but you also need sufficient downforce and stability to keep the car out of the wall in between. You would think therefore that a balanced car with limited compromise would be the best around here. In some sense that would be right, but it's probably not the car you would expect. If you've watched part 1 of the series this may surprise you, but my recommendation for Mount Panorama is the Honda NSX. It's always been a well balanced car, but at most circuits it's quite simply too slow. However, whether it's down to balance of performance or just the unique nature of this particular racetrack, the NSX is a Bathurst beast. Other cars which tend to work well here are probably a little bit more predictable, such as the Mercedes with its straight line performance and stability. The new Ferrari and the Lexus are also good picks with their respective positive handling characteristics and stability. In terms of what to avoid, I'd probably say the Bentley isn't at its best around here, but generally the driver is what makes the difference when it comes to Bathurst. Any car can be competitive when driven well, but some are definitely more of a challenge than others. If there was ever a time you wanted to try out the NSX, now is that time. Next up we have the Nürburgring. A little bit more conventional than Mount Panorama, this track relies on decent mechanical grip and stability. My recommendations on this occasion are the Bentley and the Lamborghini. The latter excels in terms of its cornering ability and sharpness, whilst the Bentley is a little more forgiving but seems to work specifically well at this circuit. It's not the best in terms of traction out of the slow speed corners, but makes up for it through the longer banked corners and has been given a generous balance of performance on most occasions. The McLaren is also a strong pick given its mid-speed cornering ability. My final good pick for the Nürburgring is the Audi. Again, there really isn't much going against it as it's a fast and stable compromise that can be just as quick as the others. The car to avoid for this place is the BMW M6. As I mentioned in part 1, it's such a hit or miss car. It can be unbelievably quick at places such as Laguna and Monza, but struggles at some of the more technical layouts, this being one of them. On to our first British GT DLC edition in this video. Oulton Park is magic for hot lapping, although racing and overtaking can be a bit tricky. The Porsche will be a great choice if you want to get yourself at the sharp end of the grid, but if you are stuck in the middle somewhere, it might be tricky to make your way forward. In a racing situation then, my first recommendation would be the Mercedes AMG Evo. Its characteristics suits the bumps and curbs littered around the circuit, and its torquey engine will do you wonders in a race situation. If I have to pick a weaker option, I would probably go with the McLaren based on what we've learned so far. It might be reasonably quick around here, but is no good over the curbs, which are absolutely key to lap time. It's too early to say whether or not it's worth entirely avoiding, but I can safely say it won't be the easiest car to haul around Oulton Park. The next circuit on the game is Paul Ricard. This place was literally designed to be a test track, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that it has a bit of everything when it comes to corner types and characteristics. The back straight is one of the longest in the game, plus we have a mixture of fast and slow corners to contend with. What this means is that many of the cars are evenly matched, and car choice is as much about preference as it is about speed. My first picks would be the Ferrari and the Audi for their cornering abilities and traction, but the likes of the Lexus and the Lamborghini are strong compromises. As for what to avoid, again there really isn't too much worth mentioning, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Nissan GT3 isn't at its best around here, but it can still be strong if it rains. Silverstone is always known as a high-speed circuit, but it's worth noting that there are 3 very slow sections where traction and mechanical grip is crucial. It may come as a surprise then that one of the best cars around here in race trim is the Bentley. It seems to make up for its lack of traction at low speed with its stability and grip at high speed. It's also kind on its tyres and good on fuel, so a great pick for longer endurance style events. If outright speed is what you're looking for, then look no further than the McLaren, for now at least. It changes direction very well and its low centre of gravity suits the nature of Silverstone. Other solid picks are the Porsche and the V8 Aston Martin, which is also a good shout. Again, try to avoid the Nissan at Silverstone, it just quite simply doesn't have the pace of its rivals. Snetterton is the final of our new British editions, and I would recommend going for the McLaren or the Mercedes. The McLaren completely aces the middle sector and you can find so much lap time in the middle of the corners. Its weakness however is the curbs, and that's where the Mercedes comes in. It may lose some ground in the sweeping middle sector but makes up for it over the multiple tricky curbs and the 2 long straights. It's a bit strange that these 2 cars often find themselves working well around the same circuits when they have opposing strengths and weaknesses, but I guess that works for you guys because then you can pick whichever one suits your style more. Now it's time to look at Spa-Francorchamps. One car used to reign supreme here, and that was the Audi R8. Before some of the latest balance and performance updates, it was over half a second clear of every other car on most occasions, but this is no longer the case. It is still, however, a strong choice if you want a chance to win. The Mercedes would be my other top pick. As usual, its brutal performance and ability to ride curbs make it a strong contender, and this really suits Spa. The BMW and Nissan are not bad choices either, and for different reasons, with the BMW excelling on the straights, and the Nissan's balance and poise providing the lap time. My car to avoid on this occasion is the Porsche. It's often one of the slowest over a lap around Spa, and is not ideal for racing either, as you will inevitably get held up through the corners and then overtaken on the straights. If you're wanting to try the Porsche in a race, Spa just isn't the place to do it. Try one of the twistier and slower circuits to utilise its strengths properly. Next up, we have Suzuka. Just like Spa, one car in particular stands out from the crowd, and that is the Mercedes. This track was built for this car with the tricky curbs and grunt needed out of the tight sections. Each sector plays to a different one of its strengths, and the lap time shows it. If you want to be different, I would recommend trying the BMW or the Lexus. All suit different parts of the track and are capable of strong results. For this one, I would avoid the Bentley. It's a bit weird that it works so well at Silverstone, but not at Suzuka, as on paper they both seem like similar styles of circuit. Whether it's the BOP or the fact that this place is less flat than Silverstone, it's just not got the pace at the moment around here. Zandvoort instantly looks like the kind of track that would suit the Porsche, and it does. This track feels like a mixture of Brands Hatch, Oulton Park and the Hungaroring, and the Porsche flows beautifully from corner to corner. It's very satisfying to drive when it's hooked up. If you don't like driving the Porsche, another strong pick is the Ferrari with its mid-speed cornering ability. The Bentley and the Mercedes are both good on pace as well, which is slightly surprising when it comes to the Bentley, less so the Mercedes. It might not come as a surprise that my car to avoid is the BMW M6. Like most of the other twisty circuits with lots of direction changes, it just doesn't work too well. The final circuit covered in this guide is Zolder. I guess you could make the argument that this track is a bit of a mini Monza, with lots of tight chicanes and a few mid-speed corners but much shorter straights. The Mercedes, however, still works as well as anything else. It's such a stable choice over the curbs, and that's where all the lap time comes from. The Lexus is another competitive choice that can certainly be up there with the Mercedes. My next picks, if you want something different, would be the Ferrari for its raw pace, or the Lamborghini for its balance. This may come as a surprise, as I earlier described this place as a little bit of a mini Monza, but the BMW is one to avoid yet again. It has more of the direction changes than Monza, which is where the car struggles, and has less of the big long straights than Monza, so is unable to utilise its power to regain the ground. So those are my recommendations if you're looking for a competitive edge. Of course, it goes without saying that these are based on opinions and experience rather than fact. You can never truly know which car is the best because of course it depends on so many different variables, from setups to driving styles and of course balance of performance updates. But hopefully I've given you enough of a steer in the right direction to help you make your decision a little bit easier. Do you completely disagree with my picks? Have you won races in the cars that I've told you to avoid? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to see more helpful ACC content such as detailed track guides, head over to the Traxion channel and hit subscribe. And don't forget to check back in when new tracks are released for more useful tips. In the meantime, keep it pinned, thanks for watching and have a great day.